All right. Okay. What I thought I would do, everyone, today, because as we know, the tutorials are additional to supplementary, trying to consolidate language, run through some vocab just to get our brains into gear, give you some space for questions, and then go and practice on the Shema. So we can spend as much or as little time on anything as you'd like. I think what I'll do is for the vocab, we'll just do 5 minutes and then leave it. And then when we get back, we'll come back to it later, do another 5 minutes. So if it's 1 word or 10 words that we get done, that's what we get done. If that sounds all right. Beautiful. Okay. Let's get this going. You don't want to see, can't see my calendar, but you don't need to see my calendar either. Okay. All right. So you should know all of these because we've done some of them before, and it's just the vocab from weeks 1 to 5. I'll give you a clue that the week 5 vocab is down the end in a chunk, just because I was going to be nice. All right. So, Keith, can you tell me this word, please?
Amar?
Well done. Well done. Okay, this is a tricky one. Excellent. Okay, this is a tricky one because what is it missing, Keith?
Pointing?
Pointing. Excellent. So we're making an assumption of the vowel sounds that go with the consonants. All right. But because it's missing the pointing, what does it tell us about the word?
Is it because how we pronounce the aleph instead of it being silent? Is that what you mean?
No, what we're saying is this is a verb because we write our verbs without any pointing.
That's right. Yes.
So when we want to say them, we assume that it has the kamets underneath. We say amar. Okay. So if you're looking at aleph, mem, resh, and you're like, we just say amar. You always put the kamets underneath, just as your basic. All right. Great. Okay, I'm just going to roll through everyone. Juliet, next one. Just try and read it out to start with.
Oh. I know that the squiggly one is lamed, so it's
well done.
Full sound, but the other, is it a bet?
No, but that's a good guess. Okay, because a bet would have an end there. Okay.
Is that's the calf?
It is. Well done, and it has the dagesh, the doubling in it, so it's a k sound.
Yep.
So we've got a k, and then what's this one?
I don't know.
It's our o pointing.
Pointing.
Yeah. Oh, so k, o, coal. Well done. Segment and blend. Okay, bonus question. I'm going to go back to yours, Keith, as well. Can you tell me what this means?
The little
tricky
dog.
one. No, sorry. What does the word mean?
Oh.
Do you remember that bit?
I'll take a random guess. Let's just say day.
That is a very random guess. That is a very random guess. Okay, it is one word that it is a word that is used repeatedly in Deuteronomy 6 in the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ahavta Eloheka b'kol. Okay, but with kol is all. So hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart. Okay, well done. All right, I'm going to run back to the next one before, Keith. You told me what the word, how to say it, but what does that word or that verb mean?
Say.
Nice work. Okay, good work. Saved by Juliet there, Keith. All right. Okay. Fionn, could you have a go at this one for us?
Yep. That is. Okay, that's a T. Sorry, I'm better on the Greek.
That's okay.
Oh, fighting words.
What's that?
Those fighting words.
Oh yes,
Practice
yeah.
makes perfect.
I've taken time off to catch up on all of this, so I am sorry.
Nothing to apologize for.
No, sorry. I did actually know the first two, but I honestly don't know this one. I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. So we've got a noon
Yep.
and then T, well done, and then a final noon. Okay. Natan. Natan. Yeah. Which is what Greg said before we get Nathan.
Mhm.
Okay, which is again, it is a verb because it doesn't have any pointing. So we would say Natan. And I would put a line on there, but it depends on how you transliterate it. That's it. All right. And what do you remember what it means? Or does anyone know what it means?
Give or take, give.
To
No,
give.
take.
Give or take. I
No.
like that.
It's one of the two. It's some kind of one in there. Yes, to give. Natan, to give. All right. I'm not going to make anyone. I'm going to call you out, but tell me. Tell me if you know this one.
It's
Anshifa.
Nearly. Okay. So if we don't have any pointing at the top, we assume that it's a sin. So s, and this is the iron. Okay. So we'd have, again, it's a verb. So assume that we've got our vowel pointing. So I'd write a. I think Felicity's just arrived, Greg.
Oh, you're right. Where's my
Sa.
Thank you.
Asa. Okay. That's how I would transliterate it. Do you remember what it means?
Do or make.
To do or make. Nice work, Juliet. All right, well done. Okay, let's do one more and then we'll have our break. We'll go on to something, questions. This one is not a verb because it has vowels in it.
Yuvos? No, that's an O on the top, isn't it?
Mhm.
Yuvos. Yuvos?
No, not quite. You've got the yod there and you've got the O, but what do you remember when it's got a vav with the O pointing, the holem pointing? It's called a holem vav. What happens when we say that out loud to the sound?
It's a U.
You actually don't say the v
Oh, that's right.
because it's a holem vav.
It makes it silent.
Yeah, it makes the vav silent. So it's just a O sound. And then a
the
final what letter?
M.
Mem.
Yeah, final mem. Well done, Fionn. Okay. Yom. Now, do you remember what it means?
That's day, isn't it?
Well done. Excellent. Good work. All right. We've done 5. Let's leave those ones for the moment. Welcome, Felicity. We are just going through some vocab. We're going to do 5 at a time, sort of interspersed throughout the hour. And then we're going to pause that for the moment and do some questions, and then go through Shema, looking at Deuteronomy. So I don't want to leave the meeting. Don't do that to me. All right. Don't take that personally, everyone. I don't actually want to leave. Questions. What questions have you got for me as a Hebrew teacher or tutor at the moment? Now you're week 6 into your Hebrew. About languages in general, I can't answer anything on Greek. And Chris is here, but he doesn't have to lead the tutorial. What would you like to talk about, look at, revise?
I think what you're doing actually is the best way for me personally, by just repetition, keep going over those words.
Sure. Good. Excellent. Is there any of the grammar that you're struggling with at the moment, Keith, or is it just sort of it's there in your head, but you need to practice it?
I think it's there. It's just unboxing things and just keep going. It's coming. It's just taking a lot longer than what I thought it would, you know.
Yeah. And that's the hard thing, is the way we are managing time, particularly with you all. You're managing work or multiple subjects and family and your own lives. But the tough thing about languages is we need to box it into really little boxes and do it repeatedly every day. So 5 words and 5 minutes every day is better than 1 hour once a week. You know, but practically speaking, we can only offer you an hour at a time or 3 hours at a time. So it's hard because you've got to change your way of working. But you're making progress. Juliet, have you got any questions? Anything in particular with the Hebrew you'd like to talk about or look at? Or
Of the final versions of some of the letters. Can you just run through what we actually use those for? Like, when do they? That's not something that we've actually covered, but why did they have those final, you know, the final nun, the final mem?
they only ever occur when that consonant sits at the end of the word.
Okay.
So it's got nothing to do. That's why with Natan, you've got noon, tate, noon, but that final one is at the end. So it's only ever at the end of the word. Greg, do you know why it's like that?
It's just a feature of some languages. Arabic, every single letter exists in 4 forms. Okay? And it's basically the same alphabet, but Aleph, there are 4 ways of writing. Actually, Aleph is probably the exception, but every other letter, and even Aleph, it depends. If it's by itself, every letter, there's a way of writing it. If it comes first in a syllable, there's a different way of writing it. If it's in the middle between 2 other letters, it changes shape. Same letter, different shape. And if it's at the end of a word and doesn't join on to anything, it has a final form. Every single letter has a final form. Now, they're not like totally different. Once you've worked out the rhythm, you can go, oh yeah, I just move a dot here or whatever. But it's just that in some languages, not only are the words inflected for syntax, but the letters are inflected, I like that, inflected for position within the word. Just like we would use capitals at the start of certain words, beginning of a sentence, proper names. Germans put a capital on every noun.
Okay.
That's just what they do.
Yeah. And it's an element of calligraphy too. So sometimes there's a reason, but I think the hard thing in Hebrew is there's only 5. It's not like it's all of them.
Yeah. Well, thankfully there's only 5, but yeah, but you don't sort of expect it because it's not every word. But when those 5 occur, they kind of hang out.
Yeah.
One more question.
Yeah, sure, please.
Greg, you made a video with all the words and you saying the words, was that right?
Oh God, that would not be a world record bestseller. I said the words.
Yes.
Yes.
And I just wanted to know, like, is it week 1, week 2, or where have you popped it on the arc?
Yes, it's on the
You
arc.
could-
I'll find it while you're chatting. I'll find
Thank
it,
you.
but I won't find it in my PDF reader. Let me go back to find. I'll go and look for it while you're doing other more interesting things.
Awesome. Thanks, Juliet. Fion, Felicity, have you got any questions, anything in particular you'd like to spend 10, 15 minutes on?
Sorry. Did you want to go first, Finn? Okay. So I just wanted to ask about the definite article.
Yes.
So the definite article has sometimes a patak under it, is that right?
Mhm.
That line.
Yes.
And sometimes a quammet, but they both are pronounced ha, but one is short, one is long. Is that right? Have I got that right? I'm just trying to bed in my brain the definite
Yep.
articles. So
Yeah. So basically it's like in English, the house versus the ant. So it's a modification of the vowel sound in the definite article to match the start of the noun that it's modifying. So the definite article generally is, I'll find the slide here so that you've got the text up, is the hey with the comments, okay? But when that is added to a noun that starts with a guttural, like eretz, the aleph, you have to change the vowel sound.
Actually,
There's not.
haven't we got that the wrong way around? It's normally a patak, and it lengthens to a comments under certain. It's just a little patak regularly.
Oh
And
yeah, sorry.
something like haaretz, it goes to the comments.
Yes, my apologies.
No, that's fine. I'm so relieved to see you're not perfect. That's great.
I've been working on my Hebrew keyboard. I think I've got it down.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bingo. Ha.
Yay. Ha.
So
Yeah.
is that the most common with the patak is the most common one you
Yes.
see? Because I was going through accordance and I was picking them out before clicking on the word thing, and I was trying to see what was right, but I didn't find many with the quammet, and I thought maybe I had misunderstood when it's used.
No, so if you think about it, it's the comments. Sorry, I will find where it is. I think I've got it. Oh, don't do that to me. Hang on. I'm going to put my comments onto my hey here. No. There we go.
Number 7.
Okay. Thank you. I actually found a really fun tool today, if you have a Mac, by the way, on Hebrew keyboard, but I digress. Okay, so if you can see my screen, play from the current slide. So this is the hey with the patak. That is your that's your base form of the definite article, which you attach to a noun. Now, the reason why you'll see that more frequently is because there are 23 consonants and only 2 of them are gutturals, technically speaking. So there are 21 that don't have a guttural at the start, or the 21 other consonants that could be at the start of a word. So that's why the hey with the patak will be the more common version. Does that help, Felicity?
Yes, thank you. I was just making sure I hadn't misunderstood.
If you happen to see something that looks like that, particularly the last one, the ha, at the end of a word, you're not going mad. It does occur, and it doesn't mean it means in the direction of.
Okay.
But it'll look like a ha, which has got displaced to the end of the noun, but it's at the end, so it's not an article. It's
Yeah.
a direction indicator. So the ha at the start of a word is basically a definite article.
Okay, so I'm going to share my concordance with you. Go into my Hebrew Bible. Okay, so let's look at Genesis 1, which is a perfect example. Okay, so this is our verse here. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. So here we have, now see, we have ha shamayim, the heavens. Now we have the definite article ha with a patak, and when we join it to the noun, we have to double that first consonant. So it's not hashamayim, it's hashamayim. But when we go to ha eretz, eretz is the word, you can't double the guttural. So you lengthen, and that's where you get the kametz, ha aretz. So we have ha aretz instead of eretz. It's just little things. Like I say, it's like with English, the versus the. So this little dot here in the middle, because normally shin isn't doubled. It's not a doubling to change it from b to v. That doubling in there is only in relation to the definite article. But I can't have a doubling in here.
So
How's that going down, Felicity?
Question, Zoe. So if it were ha bait, which of course would be habate, okay, that's a begad kafet letter, but actually it's got a ha in front of it. So the dagesh which is in there is the dagesh from the article. Or is it both? Is it the one dot doing double duty? Or it doesn't matter for our purposes this afternoon?
I don't think it really matters for the purposes this afternoon. That is an excellent question. I'm just going to have a look at my dagesh. No. That's the dagesh hazak. No, it doesn't really indicate.
I guess in a sense, when there's an article in front, the begad kafat letter is not at the beginning of a word.
Pardon, what was that?
When a noun which begins with one of the begad kafat letters,
yep,
when it has the article in front of it, it's no longer at the start of the word, of the sound.
Yes.
So it just becomes the soft version of that sound, presumably.
Yep.
So it's habate, not habate, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so it says here it can have a dagesh hazak in addition to lengthening the consonant, like haben. So it can work, it can have a dual function. So you'd have one dot and it's doing both things.
Okay.
Yep, so bain and habain is the example here. So bain being sun, just for everyone else, and habain is the sun. So it's the same thing twice.
Okay.
Good question, Greg.
No, you're welcome.
All right, Felicity, how's that sitting with you?
Yeah, just one question, please.
Absolutely.
So on the one where you've got the hay with the kwamet, and you said you can't do, because you've got the aleph next to it, you said it can't have the what's it called, hirit?
Doubling. Yep, the dagesh.
Why can't it? Is there just a language rule that it wouldn't do that because it's already in A?
Yeah, it's a hollow sound because it's a guttural.
Okay.
So it's just a linguistic. You can't harden or lengthen something that's nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So you lengthen
Got to
other ways.
remember that the aleph is not the letter A, even though in our alphabet, alpha is A.
Oh, yeah.
Aleph is just a guttural sound, and you can't have a doubling of the sound.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And
You're
sorry,
very welcome.
just
No,
one
you, please.
question.
Yep.
So do you ever just have the hey on its own without any pointing as a definite article or not?
No.
Well,
Okay.
in
No.
all the ancient manuscripts, yes, because they didn't have any pointing at all. So
Okay.
the Dead Sea Scroll manuscripts, there's no pointing. Okay, the pointing only arrived about 800 or 900 AD.
Okay.
But manuscripts that we'll generally be dealing with,
Oh
they
yeah,
will
in
have
terms of
the pointing on it.
biblical manuscripts other than Qumran, yeah, they're all pointed.
Great. Thank you.
You're
If you
welcome.
picked up an Israeli newspaper, again, none of the words in the newspaper have any pointing. But they would use ha without pointing.
All right. Let's pause there. I'm just going to jump back to vocab for another 5 minutes, if that's all right with everyone.
Before
and
we
we can go
do
back to
that,
some
can
more
I just
questions.
tell you,
Yes.
can I just tell people where the video of me pronouncing but not singing the vocabulary is to be found?
Sure, Greg.
It's in where it's
I'd
got,
like to see one with singing, personally.
yeah, I'm sure you would. Yeah, on a dark night with a full moon. Yeah. Whoa. It's in Start Here. Where it's got all, that's where I put things like Hebrew and Greek fonts and vocab lists. Directly under vocab list is video vocabulary pronunciation.
Okay, so if I share this,
Oh, look at
we're
that.
going to this one.
Yeah,
Is that
go
correct,
to the
Greg?
meta,
Yep.
the meta one. No, not the child unit,
Child
but
one.
the meta unit. Crazy system.
Yeah.
One, yep.
Meta,
And then
start here.
Yep. And half, 2/3 of the way down. Video vocab pronunciation. It's also where we've got the PDF with the Shema and the Lord's Prayer. Oh no, don't do this to me.
Well, I haven't shared it for sound.
Oh, there you
I
go.
can hear you, but no one else can.
I was waiting to have lunch with Malcolm King and Rowena at South Bank, and Kirsty or somebody had asked, could I do this? So while I was waiting for them to turn up, I just stood in the sun and did a quick and dirty reciting of the vocab list. So what I did is what you have.
Great. Okay. Well, so start here on the back basic page and then video vocab pronunciation. Okay. All right. Let's go back to some words. I'm going to go. We did our first 5.
Oh, look at that.
All right. Let's go for it. Let's look at the letters, how we say the word, and then what the word means. Have a go, anyone.
At? Oh, no, sorry. Bet?
Date. Okay. So
this is actually a really good example in terms of the tittle. The little extra bit that lets you tell the difference between a resh and a dalet, or a bet and a kaf, or a tau and a chet. These little extra feet, what in English typography is called the serif, the little extra foot at the end of a letter. So on the bet, you've got a little bump there. On the tet, you've got a bump at the top left-hand corner, and I guess at the bottom left-hand corner as well. And in Matthew 5:20 or 17 or something, Jesus says, not one jot or tittle will pass away from the law until all is fulfilled. The jot is the yod, and the tittle are these little tiny bits that tell the difference between a dalet and a resh, and between a bet and a kaf, which we had earlier. See that with the resh, it's just like a rounded corner at the top. With the dalet, there's a little overhang, little kind of veranda. And the
Okay,
bet,
so just to refer to what Greg's saying, that's our
that's
bet.
the bet, and it's got a little foot at the bottom corner.
Yeah.
The dalet
is
has
then-
a little bit hanging over at the top right-hand corner. The resh is perfectly smooth. It's a beautiful letter. The bet has a little foot at the bottom right, and the kaf doesn't have any little feet. It's just round, I guess. And
Yeah.
if you look at the chet and the tau, so
that's how I would write a towel.
Yep. And how do you do
versus...
it? Yeah. Okay. See, I would start my downward stroke on the chet a little bit above the horizontal bar, just to accentuate that it's not a het and it's not a tau, it's a het. And I just do a little extra bit up, a little bit of extra vertical. Yeah.
So this one, you've got your towel, the t sound, which is the last, and then the het, like hesed,
Huh.
and then ha.
So the devil
What
is in
is
the
doing?
details.
Yeah. Okay. So if we look at this one, we said bait, a long sound, a Y. Now there's no pointing underneath. So it's the A versus then it's not ayin or ayit. And then T, bait. Who remembers what it means? Bait.
How?
Jesus was born in Bethlehem. Bethlehem, or Beit, as in house. Bethlehem is house of bread.
Sorry,
Yes, please go for it.
the accent on top of the E is there because
That's a distinction for me. When we transliterate, that tells me that I've written that and it's a sere, which is the 2 dots, instead of a segol, which is 3 dots. Okay.
So
and when you,
sorry,
which I would write as BET or BEYT. Okay. So that's just indicating that the vowel sound, because you've got different pointing, that the vowel sound is different. Now, I will show you in the accordance. I did find it. Let's see if I can find it again. Share screen. Let's go through the accordance. This is a good tool. I'm trying to remember where it is now, though.
What, a transliteration guide?
Yes, is that in my Strongs at the start?
It was just typing transliteration in the search field. I don't know, but I'm just, there you go.
No, it's Translation Companion.
Translation.
I think if you go to Strong's Hebrew.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
No.
But they're standard linguistic signs anyway. It's not a Hebrew thing. So any language that we're transliterating into English, if it's just a regular E, we just do an English E. If it's an E that's been elongated, like eta in Greek or sere in Hebrew, we put a little flat stroke above the E. And if you're using like an iPhone, if you hold your finger on the E, you'll get a whole lot of choices, including acute, accent, circumflex, all kinds of different versions of the letter E. The same with O, long O, short O will have a little horizontal line. Same with U, A. And then with letters like H, to distinguish between het, yes, I'm getting my languages confused. Het is just a H. Het tends to be H with a dot underneath it. S, seen tends to be S. Sheen tends to be S with a little, yeah, here we go.
Okay, so
yeah,
these are the transliteration standards of the SBL Handbook of Style. So if I am writing my exegesis on Hosea 2, if I want to put the transliterated version of the Hebrew base instead of the Hebrew characters, this is what I'd be expected to follow. So we've looked here, we've got, let's annotate, Aleph, okay? Because it's that placeholder, we actually write it like that. We don't write A for it. We've got Beit, we write as a B. Gimel as a G. Dalet, D, Hey, H. Vav, you actually write as a W. Zion as a Z. Chet, like Hesed. I would personally do CH, or you do H with the dot underneath. Tate, because you've got Tate and Tau. You T with the dot. Yod is Y. Kaf is with a K. Lamed with an L. Mem is an M. I'll keep going down. Noon is an N. Samek is an S. Iron, which is the other guttural, you'll notice is actually like a little C the other way, the opposite direction to the Aleph. Pei, Sade. Kof is a Q. Resh, R. Thin, and Shin. So you can see there that distinction. So if I'm going to write out in English, not the English word, but the English pronunciation of the word, I'd write S.
and acute.
Or S. And it's an upside down circumflex. And then Tau or Tav is just your regular T. So this is where under here, this is why I have my patak or my kamets. I would write as A or A with the dash above. Okay, so don't worry about all of these little ones. But Segol, so that's my E versus my Sere. Does that help? So again, it's just the pronunciation. So when I go back to my Hebrew words, which I showed you these before, see if I can get that up. If it comes into focus, maybe it's too close. Okay, there we go.
Yep.
Oh, because it's in my, it's got to be in my face, a blurred background. Okay. So I've got an ayin, a mem, and a kof. So, and then I have one sere and one segol. So I've got two E's, but one of them's got the dash up. So then if I write it into Hebrew, I'm remembering what it's got to be. So it's actually more precise than English, because if we look at a word, is it ben or is it bean? Is it B-E-E-N? Is it B-E-A-N? What's the pronunciation? These are actually clues for us in the pronunciation guides that we've got for Hebrew.
And that's a standard linguistic list of abbreviations for particular sounds. So even though, like Zoe, I tend to write CH or KH for het, I should be doing whatever H with a dot underneath it. But it's not always easy to put a dot underneath an H without choosing a totally separate character from the keyboard. So I often just go CH or KH. I think there are alternative ways of writing het.
Yeah.
But not really kosher, so to speak, anymore.
And you'll actually find with your long and short sounds, like your long A, your long E, they'll be the same tools in your transliteration.
Yeah, like if you went to the higher up the page, looked at the Greek alphabet, the epsilon will be a regular E, and the eta will be E with a stroke above it. Exactly the same thing. And omicron is a regular O. Omega, which just means big O, will have an O above it. Okay.
All right. Okay, let's go back to a couple more vocab words. So we did bait. So that's why I've got bait rather than bet in my transliteration. Clear that up. This one. Anyone want to have a go?
Breaking my heart, people.
Don't go breaking my heart.
Chamoy.
The
Nearly getting close.
Shamayim.
Oh, getting nice guess there, Juliet. I like that. But it hasn't got an IM on the end. Shama.
Sorry.
Oh, what's it doing?
Isn't
Shama.
Isn't it fun, Zoe? Yes.
Shama Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Well, it's got to mean heart because Greg's been talking about his heart.
No,
breaking.
no. Don't be misled. I'm a wicked devil. Do not be
Yeah.
misled.
Hear,
Yeah.
well done. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is a one. Shema, to hear. That is a word you will come across a lot. We will be looking at it because as we learn the Shema, that's why we call it the Shema, the hear, or the hearing.
So that ein on the end, on the end, it's kind of an R sound then, is it?
It's
Yeah.
more so because we would now, I'm going to break my rule. It's not just a kametz underneath. Shema. Okay. It's
And the
more that
iron's
it's
silent, isn't it?
yeah. Well done, Keith. Shema. All right. So we call it the okay. And then you'd have that there, but it's not, that's the guttural that represents the iron, but you don't say it. Shema, because you've got that. This, what you'll more commonly see it as is Shema. And then you might have the guttural there. That's why we use the word Shema, the Shema.
On that point, I assume people know this, but maybe it's not self-validating information. With the words, the books of the Old Testament, particularly the books of the Torah in the Hebrew Bible, they're known by the first word in the first line of the scroll. So think about it. If you've got a scroll, you can't look up the table of contents, but you could unroll the first little bit and have a peek. And the first word you're going to see in Genesis is Bereshit.
Bereshit.
So their word for the book of Genesis is Bereshit. Okay. And their word for, I don't know, maybe it's numbers, is Bamidbar, in the wilderness. Okay. And Vayahi, which is just a verb meaning, and it came to pass, but it happens to be the first word in Leviticus or something. And we do the same thing. Word names like the Magnificat, okay, or the Noctimitis, or however you say that, Those sort of labels are simply the first word or the first phrase of the first line of that particular piece of text. So the Magnificat, which we now call the Song of Mary, but in Latin, it began Magnificat, I will magnify the Lord. So it's come to be called the Magnificat. Every psalm in the Old Testament actually has a Latin name because of the first word in the first line of the psalm in Latin. And so in the old prayer book, next to the psalm number, there'll be a little Latin phrase, because that's how they refer to this. I didn't say Psalm 22, they'd say the first word of the psalm. And so that's what's happening. We call it the Shema because the first word of this little thing is Shema. Okay? It just happens that it's a word that makes sense. But even if the first word was something else, I can't think of what, like and now, then it would just be called and now. But thankfully, Shema is a really good word to be the first word in the sentence. So this is how you do filing when you don't have our modern sense of cataloguing. Similarly, the books in the ancient world, in the library or in the New Testament, are sorted by length. Okay? Not by name, by length. Same in the Quran, the surahs in the Quran. Surah number 1 is the longest surah. Surah number 100 and whatever, 114, is the shortest surah. It's just tallest on the left, shortest on the right, or the opposite in Arabic. So,
like any good bookcase should be categorized.
yeah, so it's like the big books are down here and the little middle-sized books are here. And the little books are up top because they're not so heavy. So 1st and 2nd Corinthians actually means long Corinthians and short Corinthians. And Romans comes first because it's longer than 1st Corinthians for no other reason. Okay, so again, thinking back to Zoe's comments in class the other night, we've got to remember before the text was the word. And people had to sort stuff. And so they did it by size, or they did it by, what's the first word of that song again? So, and we do it with hymns. We often know hymns by the first line. Guide me, O thou great Jehovah. Apologies for the horrible word that I hate using. But I mean, those sort of phrases are burned into our consciousness because they come from an oral culture.
We still have an index of songs by first line.
Yeah, it's not just old hymns. A modern hymnody does much the same thing. Yeah.
Okay, let's do 3 more.
Oh,
I should know this one.
of course we do. We just be modest.
I know it means be, but I can't remember how to say it. I know what it looks like.
To be or not to be. Let's think about this. This is good practice. Yeah. Okay. There's no pointing, so we can assume it's a verb. So just for the benefit of this, hi, then a yod, to be. All right. That's what we see all around. All right. Let's go to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
This Yahweh.
Yeah. So Yahweh or the tetragrammaton, or we would say if you saw that in writing to read out, you'd say Adonai. So when we look at the Shema, it has this written in it, but you don't say it. The Lord's name. What we would then again transliterate, normally in capitals. Yahweh, Yehovah. However it goes.
If you did Intro to Bible last semester, you might have heard about JEDP at one stage. And the J is the Yahwist, the text that supposedly used Yahweh all the way along.
Yep.
I don't agree with that anymore, but that's the theory.
Okay. This makes me think of my 4-year-old child.
Ray.
Nearly. Really close. Okay. So this is where we need to pay attention to the gutturals in the middle. They are a placeholder and they can have a vowel sound underneath them. So we know it's a verb because there's no pointing. Ra'ah. Okay, so
right.
so the guttural itself, hello cat, the guttural itself doesn't make the sound, but it can hold a vowel sound. So ra'ah. Okay, it's a little thing, but you wouldn't just say ra, which is why it makes me think of Jude. Ra'ah. Now we know it's a verb. Do we remember what it means?
See.
To see. Well done, Felicity. Great work. Okay, we've done another 5. I'm going to leave those there for the moment. Now, I know I didn't give everyone a chance to ask questions, so we have 10 minutes left or 8 minutes left. Finn, were there questions that you were hoping to go over? I'm sorry, I know I didn't get to you before.
No, look, I think I'm okay. I think I just need to sit down and memorize the alphabet more than anything. I've got a pretty good handle on it, but just saying some of the things which I can figure out myself just by going through it. So it should be all right.
Beautiful. All right. Any other questions that come up in the meantime? We're happy.
Good.
Good. Okay. I'm going to jump to the end of where I was, which let's just have a look at the Shema for a few minutes, because this will help also consolidate some of the vocab. Discard my annotations. Okay, so here we have the Shema, which we know is the Shema because it starts with the first word. All right, I'm going to read it for you, and I want you to try and listen and follow along. So I'm going to read up to here to start with. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. So we've got 5 words in there so far. Or 6, I should say, sorry. 5 different words. One of them is twice. So Shema. That starts off very common with our Hebrew, with our verb. And this is telling someone to listen. Can you recognize that word? If you're looking at that in the Hebrew, this is one you will learn to be able to distinguish very quickly.
Israel.
Yeah, Yisrael. Yisrael. Israel. Next word, Adonai. So that is not, obviously that is not Adonai, but that is what I will say.
The
rather
other
than
thing
saying,
a Jewish person might say is they might say Hashem, which means the name, but they wouldn't say Yahweh, they'll say Hashem.
Hashem. Okay, that's good. I didn't know that. Thank you, Greg. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu. So I want to have a look at this one here, because this is a word from our vocab list, but there is a change to it. There are actually two changes, isn't there, Greg? Construct and suffix.
Well, it's not strictly construct, but it's, yeah, I mean, it's because you've added a suffix,
It's changed it to look like a construct.
it's dropped off the meme from the end of Elohim. Yeah. Whereas if it was Elohe Habed, it'd be God of the house or God of the temple.
Yeah, okay, right. So Greg's just given it away.
The God of the
Elohim.
temple.
I wouldn't bank on that, sorry. I wouldn't bank.
Yeah, okay. Elohim is the word, but here we have Eloheinu. Okay, because this is a I don't like it when it does that. Why does it do that?
You're just lucky.
I don't know why it does that. Okay, come on. There we go. Sorry. The nu is what we call a pronominal suffix, which adds in some kind of pronoun. Now, that might be the pronoun of possession, or it might be a pronoun directed to an object, okay? But this is what we would call our first common plural pronominal suffix. So if we think about first person, are we saying I, you, or he, she? Which one's our first person? I? Yep. Now, with first person in Hebrew, there's no distinction generally between male and female. So that's why it's first person common. But is it I or is it we?
I think it's I.
What do you think the P means?
Person.
Plural.
Plural. So it's we, okay? And because it's a pronominal suffix versus a independent pronoun and a subject pronoun, instead of it being we, it's our or us. So here, Shema, Israel, the Lord,
Our God.
God, our. So here, Israel, the Lord, God, our, or the Lord, our God. Now, Yahweh, or the Tetragrammaton, doesn't have a ha on it, doesn't have a definite article, but we would translate as the Lord. The Lord, our God, the Lord, Echad. Do you remember what that vocab is?
One.
One. Well done. That is the word for one. Because in Hebrew, we don't actually write the number one. There's no numeral for it. It's in words. Okay. Something that is very common in Hebrew is that the verb to be is often missing. So I'm going to read this out in Hebrew, and then I'm going to read it word for word in English without Englishifying it or beautifying it. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, Israel, Lord, our God, Lord one. So it's very common while we have verbs in Hebrew and we use them and we conjugate them to indicate something that's been done or is in the process of happening and things, we often actually don't use the to be, the haya. Whereas in English, I would say the Lord is one. But we assume that it's there. Okay. What I encourage you to do this week, because we've just hit 5 o'clock, is have a go at just reading that out. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Even if you're doing it really, really slowly. Go through each word just to practice, get some comfort with it, because you have learnt all of that vocab. There's nothing unknown in there for you. Okay? How does that sound?
Sounds
Good.
Sounds
Any
the people
any
said
questions in the
amen.
last amen? And the people said amen. Any questions in the last minute? If I can steal an extra minute if you need it.
Can I just point out that the last word in the next line is almost the same as Eloheinu, but it's Eloheika. So it's the same basic model, but it's the ka, you, rather than nu, meaning us or we. Okay, so Eloheinu, Eloheika. Our God, your God. So the nu and the ka are saying we, our, and the ka is saying you or yours. That just made your day, I can tell. Okay.
And will we understand? I'm just trying to figure out. So how will we know, looking at that it's not Elohim, it's the other? Is it just repetition and understanding that that's how it's ended?
Well, it is Elohim, but the meme has been chopped off.
Yeah.
Like when we join two words together, cannot becomes can't. Something drops out.
Okay.
So in this case, you don't say Elohim nu, you say Eloheinu.
Yeah.
The way it was explained to me by my Arabic, my conversational Arabic tutor is, and I'm sure it applies to Jewish minds as well as Arab minds, we're lazy. We don't want to say an extra syllable if we don't need to. So we just elide. He doesn't use that word, it's too big an English word, but we elide the syllables into a shorter version. So Elohim nu is really hard to say. Eloheinu flows off the tongue. I'm sure you've noticed that. Eloheika flows off the tongue, although it didn't flow off my tongue the other week because I hadn't looked ahead to see what I was running up against. Always good to look ahead. So again, remember, we put so much emphasis on the text that actually the spoken word comes first. This is just an aide memoire to help the people who knew this off by heart to remember how to say it. It was an oral document, if you like. It was a spoken thing. And so Eloheinu, it's like we say phone instead of telephone. It's that kind of shrinking of the words.
Great. Okay. Well, this is just for you and for anyone. Feel free, as always, to email questions through if there's something you're really wrestling with, because I'll speak for Chris if I may, where our focus is always to help you with your learning. So we can have things planned, but we're very happy to adjust to make it more beneficial for you so that you get the most out of it. There's no point in struggling with something and trying to go on if we're not bedding down some basics. So I hope this has been helpful, and thank you.
Thank you. And just looking at, I probably should have said this at the beginning when Zoe said that I have anything to say. In terms of Thursday night, if you never did sentence diagramming at school, have a look at the video I sent out earlier today. because we're going to be looking at the modules in accordance, which help you to diagram a sentence. And if, like me, you never did sentence diagramming at work, at school, then this might be something you want to have a look at. I have spent all weekend learning how to diagram sentences. I've never had to do it before in my life, but I'm learning it for you so that I can teach you this module. I'm such a good and generous man. Okay. Chris is choking. Thank you, Zoe. Thanks all.
Pleasure.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
See
All
you
right.
online, in class, whatever, on Thursday.
See you guys.
Thanks, guys.